water there, even drink.
I don't want to ruin the lipstick.
Oh, yeah.
Social media can be good, but it can be bad as well. In terms of her building her confidence, it can build her confidence.
Marjorie's just trying to find herself now, you know. She's not influenced by social media yet.
Most of the influencers that I've seen have definitely had a positive impact on me.
Hey guys, here's a beauty hack I'm obsessed with. I am so happy.
Look at how cinched my waist is. Look at how flat my stomach is.
It's the shortcut to flawless skin.
You know that Botox doesn't just reduce wrinkles, right? Baby Botox is amazing. You're never too young to start.
That is not me.
There are these great powders. They stop you feeling hungry so you can always skip breakfast and lunch.
And you have to treat yourself to a chemical peel. They're a total glow up. They burn away the top layers of your skin and let new skin grow through.
Hey, Mojo. If your teeth are uneven, you can always file them down with a nail file. It's literally so simple.
Don't put up with your thin lips, sweetie. Lip filler kits let you inject yourself at home. They're my total go-to.
Fake eyelashes are so easy to glue on. If you cut your eyelashes off, there's some really great pills you can use.
Keep telling yourself you're not hungry, you're just thirsty.
Never look bloated again.
We'll get into your skin sexiest life.
Botox.
Remember, skinny is never finished.
Oh.
It's
Have you actually seen stuff like that?
yeah. What? This stuff is on every girl's feed. They're watching, right? I mean, at night when I can't see them.
It's scary to me that my kids are watching this and they think that's how they have to look.
I saw one of the teeth smiling videos. I remember that one. I remember seeing that all over. I know this stuff. I can't prevent them from seeing these, but I can talk to them about it.
100% always be talking. And have Peyton know that she can always ask me anything.
My mom has taught me not to listen to people like that and to be proud of who I am.
Great Saturday, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us. I am Dr. Sheka Houston and my trust mate in education, Dr. Tammy Taylor. We are excited to be with you, and we definitely have different energy since this is our Thanksgiving break. Friday was our last day in our district, so we are starting our break next week. We'll have an entire week off. Good morning, Tammy. Oh, Tammy, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Good morning. And good morning, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us.
Good morning. And Tammy and I are the co-founders of Create and Educate. We are your resiliency experts. We help schools become resilient leaders, women, children, and organizations. So we were able to improve our schools 2 and 3 report card grade levels with our dynamic staff members in 1 year. We come every Saturday with our information and podcast so we can pay it forward to make sure that we're being the help that we needed when we were in the throes of school improvement. So between the two of us, we have about 40 years of experience in various parts of education, and also not even in education, but also in the business sector as well. But today we decided to bring you the topic of building self-esteem in young men and young women. And we're thankful that Principal Hurt brought us great information as well about recruiting African American males teachers and African American teachers and that impact. But some of the recent things that we have seen lately in the news just have been very negative things. Let me put this up. That's why we decided to open with the Dove project. So these are some of the recent news that I was talking about. The 3 African American males that you see pictured at the top were murdered by a classmate at Virginia State University, Lavelle Davis Jr., Deshaun Perry, Devin Chandler. And if you've been following the story about Shanquella Robinson, that story is also very, very unfortunate. And in society, I think that because of social media has desensitized a lot of people, and I think in particular it's impacting our young people, and it's making us, we are getting some things wrong. So Tammy and I are your problem solver educators. We wanted to make sure that we brought some things to you on this topic that we thought would be able to help. Under our framework, this falls under respect. That framework stands for the R.E.A.L. acronym: respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. And that's Create and Educate's 5 super strengths of resiliency. But that respect is something that has to be lacking in order for things like this to be able to happen to our young people. So we want to definitely provide parents, educators, people in our community with some tools and resources and just some dialogue around this. And we know that, there's nothing wrong with social media, but just as the Dove Project showed us, there's a lot of toxicity that exists out there in the messaging in social media. So if you're a young person on social media is fine for people who have rationing skills, people who know how to filter through reality and fake news, and then people who know whose they are and who they are. And for a lot of our young people, those things haven't developed yet. So it's really important for us, just as you saw in the project, to make sure that we're having some conversations and some dialogue about what children are seeing and helping them learn how to turn those things off, change that messaging, and make sure that we are not creating a society of desensitized socio and psychopaths. And I say that because, a sociopath is someone with a poor inner sense of right and wrong. And a psychopath is someone who basically can't identify with someone else's, has no conscience. A sociopath has a conscience and they kind of know what's right or wrong, but their behavior, even though they know stealing your money might be wrong, they still won't. It's not enough knowing it's wrong to stop their behavior. So they're still going to follow through with it. So we have to make sure that we're having conversations with our children and providing some tools and resources for our educators and parents. And then when you have a weak conscience or a weak sense of what's right and wrong, and then you add that power of the group dynamic to it, which happened in that case with the Robinson young lady, that group dynamic can become very dangerous. And some people don't know that before I graduated with a degree in business in my undergrad, but my first major was psychology. So the study of people and human behavior are things that fascinate me. And one of the things that we learned early on in that program, on March 13th, 1964, Kitty Genovese was stabbed to death outside of her apartment in New York. And that brutal attack had 38 witnesses that none of them, even though they heard her screaming, came to her rescue, and they did nothing. So psychologists used that case to come up with something called the bystander effect. So when there's multiple people around, when something is happening, everybody starts to diffuse responsibility to say, oh, well, that person heard it too, so let them be responsible for it. Or they heard it, so I don't have to act because they're going to do something. And so when you keep diffusing the responsibility, no one does anything. So group dynamic is something that is very important with our children, especially when a lot of those things that I talked about before, rationing skills and self-esteem, is not in place. So we're going to start off by talking about what is self-esteem. And I talked earlier about knowing whose you are. I think our faith, as a woman, as a Black woman, definitely has a lot to do with my identity. Would you say that's true, Tammy?
Absolutely. I think just knowing that you are who you are, and it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. You're a Black woman, I'm a Black woman, and we both identify as strong Black women, but who I am differs from who you are because of the experiences that we've had. No matter how similar they are, I still am unique to me. And I think part of what is slipping away from us culturally, and familially, is we are not making sure that kids understand that you don't have to be like anyone. And that image that Dove Project is trying to destroy is, oh, I have to look like the influencer, or I have to be like the beauty queen, and I have to be like, my lips are too big and my eyes are too small, and I need to do cosmetic surgery because my nose is too big. Those are things that we have to help our kids to understand, because that isn't even who you are. Like that is a part of how you identify or how you look, because that also is a part of building strong self-esteem within our kids. But just naming yourself, knowing who you are so that you can be confident. I think I saw Jasmine said self-confidence is a major aspect of knowing who you are, and having the strength to be unique, to be your authentic self. Like, because authenticity is always going to help you to not respond when other people are referring to you as something that you're not.
Exactly. I agree completely. And the part about naming yourself, that self-awareness is definitely key. And I think throughout your journey, I think it's important for us to teach children and adults too, throughout your journey, who you are, it evolves. I'm not the same person I was in my 20s or in my 30s. And now that even in my started off in my 40s is probably different than I am now at 45. And that is okay. Like you said, that authenticity is okay. And we have to make sure people understand that that is they have comfort in those differences and those uniquenesses.
And one of the things that I think too, Sheka, we have to really pay homage to is the fact that that evolution is a natural part of who you are. Like you, if you allow it to happen, it happens naturally, because just the way that we're designed, and we're designed beautifully. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. That's the Bible. So that uniqueness that God has placed in each one of us is something that evolves over time, because the more you cultivate it and the more you realize who you are, the easier it becomes to flow into your self. And that self is created to help somebody else.
Exactly. And you know, I think when we go back to whose you are, I think that helps you develop those main staples, those things that won't change, your foundational principles, your values, the things that will, you know, form your beliefs. But like you said, who you are, who you answer to, your self-awareness about yourself, those things would change. And there was a meme that somebody put up on Facebook that said, I'm at the age now, if I don't want to be somewhere, I'm probably not going to show up. And I said, now in my 20s, I probably would have went and would have just, you know, been compliant just to make people happy. In my 30s, I might have been saying, well, you know, I might go, or I might have went and was still ready to go. But in my 40s, I would have been saying, I don't know if I'm going to come. And now that I'm 45, if I don't want to be there, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not coming. I'm going to let you know I'm not coming. I might even get me a t-shirt that say, hey, I'm not coming. So, you know, that was just a joke to show, you know, you change, and that is okay. It's okay to make changes. And as an educator or school leader, all of this falls under respect. These things, when your children have self-awareness about themselves and respect for themselves, they're able to respect other people and themselves and your teachers and the adults in your building. This is going to directly impact your climate and culture of your school. So these things, having this development is very important.
And I think as administrators, we have to be willing and make sure that we are cognizant of the fact that just as we are evolving, the kids are evolving as well. And who you're looking at isn't who will be standing there in 2 years, in 4 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. You'll be looking at a very functioning adult at some point. But it's up to us to help them to be aware of who they are and to understand. Like, I mean, we start teaching them when they're in pre-K, you have to self-regulate. The reason you have to self-regulate is so that you don't end up being or having those sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies, because you can't relate to anybody because you're so impulsive and you have to gratify your own needs all the time. That isn't how you are designed, and that's not how we can fully function in the world. So we have to teach them how to self-regulate so that we are in a space that allows them to grow into mature, into productive people.
Definitely. And when we talk about esteem, we've talked about knowing yourself and self-awareness, but the esteem part is what you believe. And then how do those beliefs influence your behavior towards yourself and others? And also concerning how you allow people to treat you. So all of that is engulfed in self-esteem. And a book that I read about raising, I think it was, I can't remember the title, but it was about young ladies, raising strong young ladies. And I had my husband read it too, because one of the most interesting facts I found in that book was that the person in the family who has the largest impact on self-esteem in a family, and this, of course, was talking about a traditional family, is the father. The father's impact on a girl's self-esteem and a young man's self-esteem are very highly impacted. They can have impact their self-esteem the most, whether it's a girl or a boy. So that was something that I definitely wanted my husband to know, and that when we have parents and men that are in people's or our young people's lives, I think it's important for them to know that, because a lot of times what children are looking for is validation. So when Tammy and I found an article that will help provide, and it's from Moms of Color, setting Black kids up for success in life, 10 steps to building self-confidence. And one of the things that it talks about doing is providing that encouragement or that validation or those affirmations are very important.
And I think one thing that we can just go back to with what you were saying about the importance of the Black male, that goes back to what Principal Hurt was saying today. Like, it is important to have that imagery there, like that the Black male represents something in the Black family that is important, is significant, and it's rock solid. What I want to say to mothers, though, because I was raised in a single home where there was no father in the home to provide that investment into the esteem and the awareness that you were developing during those ages. I just say to you moms, just be aware that it doesn't have to be the man in the house. Like we had a deacon assigned to us at our church, who was like the father that my brothers didn't have at home. So just know that void that sometimes we get stuck on because there is no man in the house. I got this by myself. You don't have to do it by yourself. You can, because my mom was strong enough to pour into us, and she did. But she also accepted the fact that there are men. There are men in the community. There are men in the church. There are men in your family who can step in there and provide that structure that is needed to fill those gaps and to solidify the fact that this is important. That relationship, just like Principal Hurt talked about this morning, is paramount.
It is. And I grew up in what some people call a broken home. My parents were divorced when I was 3. So my father was not a part of my sister and I's growing up. So you're right. Those figures can be there, because for me, it was my grandfather. We ended up living with them when my parents divorced when I was 3. So the point of that is to know that when we are looking at a lot of our male students who we experience, and that anger that exists in some of them, when you get down to the root of it, a lot of it, when I have spoke to my young males, has been that abandonment and hurt are very real things. And if they don't have someone who is validating them, to say that I see you, I'm proud of you, giving them some positive things, that affects them. So, and it affects young ladies too. So we have to be cognizant of those things. So that first thing, providing that encouragement, telling them that they're doing great. A lot of our imagery in the media, when we're talking about African Americans, is not positive. So we have to be intentional about turning some of that stuff off. Sometimes our conversations have to change when our children are in the room, and we have to be intentional about making sure that we're saying things that are positive about, things that are happening positively in the African American community.
That's right.
It says informing them that they are their biggest competition. And I think that when you instill in children that they are their own competition, it helps break down those things that can really make a breeding ground for jealousy, because that's a lot of what took place in these negative things that are recently in the news, I think was from jealousy. So it helps those things to not form. So,
and it's 10:54, Sheka.
I know. So we only got through 3 of those points. So we'll continue this, because I think it is a very important topic. I think that we need to make sure we are building our children. And so make sure you tune in next Saturday so we can finish the discussion. Please join us next on Principal Kafele's page. He has a phenomenal guest. Join Josh and Chris on Unlock the Middle on Sunday, and Dr. Roz on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Have a great holiday and Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you.
And we are so thankful for all of y'all.
Yes, thank you.